Okay, back again for another tackle talk. Who knows how well the last one did? Doesn't really matter. It's whatever. Um, Class is in session. I got the 5 main things that you can do without spending any money. Well, technically spending any money in order to become a better fisherman generally. I may focus this more on muskies to begin with, but overall it applies to literally anything. Bass fishing, walleyes, crappies, ice fishing, whatever you want, it applies to all those disciplines of fishing. So 2020 has been kind of a weird year, to say the least. Without getting too much into it, despite some of the difficulties that many people are having in 2020, I was very blessed to spend significantly more time on the water this year than I would be able to in a normal year, a normal setting, or a normal circumstance. Getting married to my wife in northern Wisconsin and basically having a summer-long honeymoon definitely did not suck. But anyway, not to get too much into that. Like I've got 5 things that I learned this summer that really helped me, and if I can share that information to help all of you, hopefully you'll be able to put more fish in the boat, the bag, on the ice, whatever it is, come this year. Again, more musky focused from my angle, but again, don't be afraid to apply these principles elsewhere, and I'll try and provide some examples of that as I go along to how you might be able to apply it to other disciplines. So the number one thing that is not beholden to any particular species alone that I have found increases your level of success is time on the water. Time on the water is the number one most important thing as far as success goes that you can do that doesn't cost you any money. Yes, there is a utility argument in terms of economics and all that stuff. Me being an economics teacher, I understand how that works. But yes, time is money and money is time. I get it. But the point being is that time on the water doesn't cost you anything, and it's an easy way to learn your bodies of water that are close to you better, to be a more effective fisherman, to use that time that you get on the water more wisely, and to hopefully understand your time of the year and the patterns that those fish are, swimming in based on the year, based on the conditions that are going to allow you to put more fish in the bag, in the boat, on the ice, whatever the case may be. Fish are, for the most part, fairly predictable. They do the same thing every year, and they're motivated by 2 things, food and spawning. And spawning doesn't happen very long, so the number one motivation generally is food. But again, the more time that you spend on the water, the easier it is to figure out what those fish are going to be doing at any given time based on the conditions that you're presented. Okay, the second thing that I found this year that I've had a lot of success with, or has helped me to be more successful, is being different. And by that, I mean, yes, I am weird and a quirky individual, and anyone who spends ungodly amount of time on their boat alone or with other weird people who enjoy fishing and being outside for a really long amount of time, I get that I'm different. But at the same time, when I say be different, I'm more referring to things that you can do in your presentations or the lure choices that you make in order to be a more effective angler. And by that, I mean, so like from the musky angle, a good example would be this bucktail. It's got one willow blade. This is a Brute 7. It's got one willow blade, Colorado blade. Puts off a different vibration than your standard 2 Colorado bladed bucktails. It's a different type of vibration, a different type of presentation. Another lure that is similar but not the same, again, it's different. You have I think this is a 10 blade and a 9 blade Colorado, so it's going to be putting off a wonky vibration. And then if you look, you've got a pusher cone head here that's going to be putting out a jet trail as you're reeling in that. This is a musky metal bucktail that I custom ordered from those guys. If you want them, hit up Chad. He'll be glad to help you out. But anyway, that's not like a paid promotion or anything, but that's if those bucktails look cool to you, it's the easiest way to get them. But again, it's about being different. You've got a thing that's going to be putting off something that they don't see, and a dual combination blade that's a little different than the double tens most people are throwing. Again, on the opposite side of that, if a lot of people are on a body of water throwing something big, throw something small. It doesn't necessarily have to be a huge bucktail. You can have a small presentation that really is able to change things up and be different. So that being said, another option might be to go bigger. I realize that this is literally the second smallest bulldog that exists, being just a regular mag dog, or a pro mag dog, I guess, because it's floppy. It doesn't have a harness in it. Well, the harness is floppy, whatever. But that pro mag dog, if people are throwing smaller presentations, maybe you should throw a big one. So that's just some ideas of how to be different. If you're bass fishing, putting a pulse into your spinnerbait and twitching your rod, or maybe the way that you crawl your jig is slightly different than someone else, or the color that you may choose is better for your body of water. There are lots of ways to be different when you're approaching your bodies of water. And again, that then ties back into point number one, time on the water. Okay, so the second thing that I have found, the third thing that I found this year to be very effective at triggering strikes, triggering bites, whether it be bass, whether it be pike, muskie, whatever. About the only time that it doesn't really work quite the same is in the wintertime, like ice fishing, contact. The point is contact cover. So ice fishing, that doesn't really work as well because you're probably going to hang stuff up. But if you think of the bottom as cover, I suppose banging your jig or spoon on the bottom could be considered contact and cover to draw those fish in. Anyway, not to get too much into the weeds on that, but contact and cover has been huge for me this year. Whether it's been jerk baits that I've ran, soft plastic lures, again, like this bulldog, being able to contact those weeds and rip it out of those weeds just trigger strikes. I don't know what it is. It probably just looks like something's dying and they want to take advantage of it. So ripping it out of that cover is very effective. And knowing how to approach contacting cover in an effective way is very helpful. It's one of the few things, like your bucktails, they're just not very good at. You can't really contact cover in the same way with those. It's just part of the deal. You go over the cover, you can do different things and pulse your bucktail. Again, that kind of ties back into being different, but those things all tie together, knowing when to contact cover, knowing when to maybe try a faster presentation, all then ties back to time on the water. Okay, so another thing to think about too, this isn't so much related to being on the water physically, but will hopefully make your experience better once you get there, is researching and spending time researching what you're after. Whether it's muskies, bass, pike, crappies, walleyes, whatever, tarpon in Florida. Research what those fish do, research what makes them tick, what their seasonal movements and patterns are, and all of that research that you do is going to make that time on the water more effective and efficient. So like, if you are curious if there's, for example, muskies or smallmouth bass in a lake, you can go on the DNR website here in Iowa. We're very fortunate. They put the stocking records. So you have a good idea of what fish species are in that lake, how much they stock those fish, how often they stock them, and then based on some other metrics that you could use based on research that's published, you could get an idea of how big those fish might be based on the growth rates for our given, area or latitude, I guess you could say, because it's going to be different the further north you get and the further south you get. Being in Iowa, we're pretty much right in the middle. So we get ice, but not the same as up north. But doing research on lures, techniques, stuff like that, that's what the winter's for. You're able to kind of game plan before the game planning even takes place as to where you're going to fish, how you're going to approach fishing, and then effectively use the time that you have at your disposal. Lastly, and probably most importantly out of all of these points, is knowing and understanding the grind and then being able to embrace that experience. You're not going to go out and smash the fish every single day you're on the water. It's just how it is. No matter how good you are, everyone has off days. Some people who spend a lot of time on the water, they just have better days than other people, and that's just part of the experience. And that's what makes the good days all that much better and all that much sweeter when they work out. If you're fortunate enough to put a muskie in the boat every single time you go out there, you're doing something right, and you're a heck of a lot better fisherman than me. If you're able to put a limit of bass together every time you fish a tournament, again, you're doing something right. You're a heck of a lot better bass fisherman than me. So enjoy the experience. Enjoy the people that you are with. It is so important. Some of those memories, being able to put people on fish this year have been just some of the best memories, and that's why I do the YouTube thing. It's so cool to have those captured. The one that sticks out to me, I probably will not have published it at this point, but I will at some point in the very near future publish my wife catching her personal best muskie this year. You saw my reaction when she caught her tiger this summer. I mean, being able to put a pattern together and then take a person to that spot and have that person catch a fish using the pattern that you have come up with is really like peak level fishing. I mean, it really doesn't get better than that. Just being able to enjoy the experience and appreciate those who are sharing it with you. I've been fortunate this year, despite some of the difficulties with COVID, to spend a lot of time on the water with good friends. You've seen them in my videos, Jaron and Alex and Grant, Callie and Blake a bunch this winter. It's been phenomenal. It is. I feel so blessed to have been able to spend that much time with that many awesome people. My father-in-law this summer on the water, my own father a lot this ice season, and even some with the muskie season this spring and fall. I mean, it's just been, it's really been probably the best year of fishing I've ever had. And reflecting on it now, just kind of in passing, it's pretty remarkable, what I've been able to accomplish in my boat and what I've been able to accomplish with other people in my boat or with other people in their boats. I almost forgot Barry. Barry's trying to teach me how to jig for muskies, and it's not going well. I think I'm really bad at it or something, but he got one the one day, so that was cool. But anyway, just a lot of people. I've been very fortunate, and Jay, one of my muskie mentors, got to spend some time with him this summer as well. And Justin, I'm sure there's people I'm forgetting, but it's been a heck of an awesome year, and in reflection of that. But hopefully this video helps you guys learn something related to, my experience this year, and maybe me conveying my experience to all of you will help cut down on some of that time. This may have been a boring video to sit through. Hopefully it wasn't too bad, but yeah, hopefully these tips will help. If I was, this is my top list. I'm not saying that someone may not have a different list than me. And obviously there are offshoots of all these individual things that, go into catching fish and how many fish you're catching and how big a fish you're catching. But it's been a blast of a year. I appreciate all of you for tagging along and sticking with me. Hopefully 2021 will be half as good, and even if it's not, I'm still going to be out on the water grinding, because rule number 5, you got to appreciate the grind. So without much else to say other than that, I guess I appreciate all of you watching. Appreciate you subscribing and following along, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.